Well, hello folks. Let's see if we can get today's little offering recorded properly. It takes a bit of a faff. Now I put on a new shirt, another new shirt. See, new shirt, very nice new shirt. Very smart, poetry reader. First of all, it's a fantastic day out there. There is what's that? It's a great tit. Yeah, it's a great tit on the peanuts. And I went for a walk in the university yesterday morning. It was University of Reading in the grounds. Not very early, but just as the sun was coming up. Wonderful, it's gorgeous, beautiful, 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 and saw all sorts of birds. You probably worked out it's a bit of a bird theme. I do like the natural world. And missel thrushes sitting at the tops of the trees, singing their hearts out. Beautiful song. And I was just about to go. Now, I've been there probably about an hour and a half, just wandering around. And I thought, well, I'll just sit down on a rock and see if anything else turns up. Pigeon that needs to be seen. And sparrowhawk appeared. Whoa, sparrowhawk. They are the assassins of the bird world. I've actually had one stuck in my kitchen before, but that is another story, definitely another story. Female sparrowhawk. Just while I'm on the subject of birds, I was down my allotment early this morning, and the blackcaps are almost in song. Blackcaps, they have a beautiful song, and when they're singing, I know spring has arrived. But anyway, let's go on with a bit of Christopher Robin. Now, I've got hopefully 2 poems for you today. I say hopefully, see how we get on. But the first one's got to be Bad Sir Brian Botany. Bad Sir Brian Botany. And this poem is all about, it's got a moral. And the moral to this poem is that bullying does not work. Say that again, bullying does not work. This is, let me show you the pictures. I have a problem. Well, you've probably worked that out a long time ago. But no, I have a problem is that when I was a small boy, I was given these books and I coloured them all in with a red crayon. And so, look at the illustrations. And so they're not as clear as they might be. I think I'm going to have to buy a couple of books and so that I can show you the illustrations when I read the poems again, as I'm sure I will. But there is Sir Brian Botany up there with his battle axe, and he loves to go around and take it out on the villagers. There we go, that side. He's actually there swinging his battle axe around, take it out on the villagers, and he eventually gets his comeuppance. You'll hear it in the poem, and they chuck him in a pond, and you actually need to see that picture. It's one of those illustrations that you need to see in order to understand the poem. And so we'll get on with the poem. But the story is that, sorry, 2 pigeons messing around out there. Oh, pigeons. The story is that Sir Brian, he gets his comeuppance from the villagers, and as a consequence, he becomes a reformed character, which is a good thing. Good thing, 1066, 1066, a good thing. So the poem goes like this. Bad Sir Brian Botany by A. Milne. Sir Brian had a battle axe with great big knobs on. He went among the villagers and blipped them on the head. On Wednesday and on Saturday, but mostly on the latter day, he called at all the cottages, and this is what he said. I am Sir Brian. Ting-ling. That is the doorbell. I am Sir Brian. Rat-tat. That's the door knocker. I am Sir Brian, as bold as a lion. Take that, and that, and that. Sir Brian had a pair of boots with great big spurs on, a fighting pair of which he was particularly fond. On Tuesday and on Friday, just to make the street look tidy, he'd collect the passing villagers and kick them in the pond. I am Sir Brian. Splash. I'm Sir Brian Splush. I'm Sir Brian as bold as a lion. Is anyone else for a wash? Sir Brian woke one morning and he couldn't find his battle axe. He walked into the village in his second pair of boots. He'd gone 100 paces when the street was full of faces, and the villagers were round him with ironical salutes. You are Sir Brian? Indeed. You are Sir Brian, dear, dear. You are Sir Brian, as bold as a lion? Delighted to meet you here. And this is where they chuck him in the pond, because he hasn't got his battle axe or his pair of boots with spurs on. So Sir Brian went a journey, i.e., in other words, he got chucked into the pond. Sir Brian went a journey and he found a lot of duckweed. They pulled him out and dried him and they blipped him on the head. They took him by the breeches and they hurled him into ditches, and they pushed him under waterfalls. And this is what they said. I'll show you that picture again. There is the picture of Sir Brian in the pond with the duckweed, and there's all the villagers around laughing their heads off. Ho, jolly ho. So they pushed him under waterfalls, and this is what they said. You are Sir Brian, don't laugh. You are Sir Brian, don't cry. You are Sir Brian, as bold as a lion. Sir Brian, the lion. Goodbye. Sir Brian struggled home again and chopped up his battle axe. Sir Brian took his fighting boots and threw them in the fire. He is quite a different person now. He hasn't got his spurs on, and he goes about the village as B. Botany, Esquire. I'm Sir Brian. Oh no. I'm Sir Brian. Who's he? I haven't got any title. I'm Botany. Plain Mr. Botany B. And there's a lovely picture there too of Sir Brian in his plus fours, looking at the country squire, no longer the bully, with his battle axe and so on and so forth. So there we go. So that's a good poem. And the moral is, what's the moral? Do you remember the moral? The moral is bullying does not work. So be nice to your brothers, your sisters, your fellow neighbours, your fellow peeps. Okay, poem number 2 from the same book, When We Were Very Young. I swear I'm afraid I've scribbled in these in red. I say I, some small boy has scribbled in red again. But I'll show you the pictures at the zoo. And there's Christopher Robin looking at something. I never worked out what the something is. Probably a hippopotamus, I think. And on this side we have him looking definitely at a buffalo or a bison with his nanny standing by. So, oh no, someone else. Oh, who knows? Oh, it's nanny, it is nanny, yes. So at the zoo it goes like this. There are lions and roaring tigers, enormous... Oh, I should have said, sorry, At the Zoo by A. Milne. Got to get the credits right. There are lions and roaring tigers and enormous camels and things. There are buffalo, bisons, and a great big bear with wings. There's a sort of tiny hippopotamus and a tiny rhinoceros too. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. There are badgers and bidgers and bodgers in a superintendent's house. There are masses of goats and a polar and different kinds of mouse. And I think there's a sort of a something which is called a wallaboo. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. If you try to talk to the bison, he never quite understands. You can't shake hands with the mingo, doesn't like shaking hands. And lions and roaring tigers hate saying how do you do. But I give buns to the elephant when I go down to the zoo. So there. You may have noticed, if you're very, very observant, that in the first 2 verses at the end, Christopher Robin says, but I gave buns to the elephant. And in the final one, he says, but I give buns to the elephant when I go down to the zoo. Christopher Robin loved animals. Great, well, let's say that's enough for today, and see you next time. Have a great time.